Mean by subtractions? This is like you have a problem like this. -5 minus, nothing angelic asked, what happens if you have subtractions? And -2. Or 8 minus a 7. Or -6 minus a 9. Or -12 minus a -5. Now, well, we have, yep, what did you say there, Jamie? Well, here's what we're going to do. We have a rule in math. It says if you have subtractions like this, if you want to subtract a minus b, you can really write that as a, keep the first one, change the sign to plus, and take the opposite of that. So step number one, what you want to do, change subtraction to addition, subtraction sign to addition, operation or sign to addition, and step number two, you add the first number, add, not subtract, to the opposite of the second number. So you apply the same rule for addition. So I'm not giving you a new rule here. So I can say here, follow the rule for additions. So there are no new rules. So again, what I said is we're going to change the subtraction to addition. So the first number stays the same. We don't touch that. We take the subtraction, make it addition. And we take the opposite of that number. What's the opposite of -2? +2. And now let's apply the rule for addition. We just finished that in the previous video. So look at these two numbers, either the same sign or different signs. We subtract the smaller number from the larger, 2 from 5, which is what? 3, and what's the sign of 5? Negative. So instead of giving you a new set of rules, we're saying, no, we're going to use the same set of rules with minor adjustment. Take the here we go, 8, change the subtraction to addition. And what is the opposite of 7? -7. Now it's an addition problem. Either the same sign or different signs. Different. Subtract 7 from 8, which is what? 1. What's the sign of the larger? Positive. -6. This becomes plus. And what's the opposite to 9? -9. Let's do the addition here. Same sign or different signs? Add them and keep the sign. Is it -15? First number stays. That doesn't change. Subtraction becomes addition, opposite of the second number. Notice like KFC, keep, change, and opposite instead of flip the sign basically. Now these signs are what? Different. You subtract the smaller from the larger. 5 from 12, which is what? And what's the sign of 12? Negative. And I'm just going to try a couple more examples, but I'm done with my lecture. Except, I got to add some fractions there. It wouldn't be the same if I don't put fractions there. Oh yeah, they'll be up there shortly. Both of these. What's 3 minus a negative 9? Think about that. Give you like 20 seconds to think about it. They told me not to leave the camera running with no voice, no writing on it. So we keep the first number. We change this to what? Plus, and we take the opposite of that. This becomes what? 9. What's 3 plus 9? 12, yes. Let's try this one. What's negative 2 minus 8 1/3? Keep the first number. Change the sign to what? Positive, and take the opposite of that. Now let's look at the numbers. Do they look the same sign or different sign now when you're adding? Look at these two. Are they the same sign or different? So we're going to add them and keep the sign. So I know my answer is going to be negative because they're both negative. So let's go to the side and add them. What is 2 plus 8 1/3? Now you can make real life easy on you if you add them vertically. The 2 is 2 like this, and the 8 1/3, 8 1/3. We add the fraction to the fraction. What's 1/3 plus nothing? 1/3. What's 2 plus 8? 10. What's the answer? Negative 10 1/3. Remember, adding vertically, you put the fractions on top of the fractions, the whole number on top of the whole number. That just means the number is negative. I don't have to put parentheses. I put it there.
Because on top negative is negative 9, but then in the bottom you got negative 2. But doesn't the negative 2...
I mean, I could have put parentheses here. That means if you put them there or not, it doesn't make any difference. I like my negative numbers to be in parentheses.
So what's the difference between the negative 9 and the negative 2? You see how negative 9 on top, it becomes a positive 9?
Yeah, because you're going to subtract. When you subtract, it says if you have subtractions like this, you keep the first number, you change it to plus, and you take the opposite of that. So that's what I did. There's the 3. That number, the first one doesn't change. Change this to plus and switch that number from negative to positive.
So it changes the second.
Second number, exactly. The first number doesn't change. Notice the negative 2 doesn't change. Change the sign to plus. Change that number to the opposite of that. Change the sign of it, and that's why it's negative. But the first number does not change. This is not subtraction. That's just a negative number. That's a subtraction. This is a negative number. That's a subtraction. We change the subtraction to addition, and we take the opposite of the second number, which means change the sign of it. Again, if you got like 3 numbers to deal with, like this one, and his addition, subtraction, and I think that's what Angelica asked me earlier. What happens if you have addition, subtractions? You can add these 2 numbers first. That's an addition problem. Are they the same sign or different signs? Subtract 5 from 6. 1, negative 1. So the problem becomes this, minus 1 minus negative 11. Notice, Jamie, the first number is not going to change. It's going to stay the same. I don't touch the first number. I change the subtraction to what? Addition. I take the opposite of that, which means change the sign. Now that's addition. Different signs. 1 from 11, which is what? 10, what's the sign of the larger? Positive. Maybe I'll do another one like this. Minus 2, minus 3, plus a negative 5. Let's look at this. The first number you don't touch. That's the negative 2. Change the minus to what? Plus. Take the opposite of 3. What's the opposite of 3? Negative 3. Let's see what the answer to that is. Are these two numbers the same sign or different signs? Same sign, we add them and keep the sign. That's a negative 5. Plus a negative 5. Let's write the rest of the problem. Are these numbers the same sign or different signs? Add them and keep the sign. Negative 10. One more. I'll throw a fraction again. 4 1/2 minus 9 1/2. What do we do with the first number? Leave it alone. We change the sign to what? Addition. What do we do with the second number? Make it opposite. Now let's look at the signs. Are they the same sign or different signs? Different signs. So if they're different signs, what do? You subtract what? The smaller from the larger. And use the sign of the larger. Is my larger positive or negative? Negative. So what's 9 1/2? Subtract from it 4 1/2. 1/2 from 1/2 will give me what? Nothing. 0. What's 9 minus 4? 5. The answer should be negative 5. And I'll stop here.